Welcome to knitting school. I'm so glad you decided to take up knitting. And you know what? You don't even have to ask yourself why you took up knitting. This is an extreme sport. You're not throwing yourself out of a plane. You can just say, hey, I think I want to knit. And that's okay. Other things you might need a little therapy about, but knitting, just pick up those pointy sticks and get ready to go. Now, open up your phone book and find your local yarn store. And why am I telling you to find your local yarn store instead of just going to AC Moore? Well, first of all, if you go to a local yarn store, you're going to make friends with the people that work there. And believe me, that's a really easy thing to do. This is not your mom's knitting store. My mom, she went to this shop that was run by these Russian ladies. And what they would do is they didn't sell patterns, they just wrote out patterns and they handed it to you. And then you came back and they looked at your work and went, what is this? What is this? What is this wrong? Rip, 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 rip. Here, you take it back and you do it right. That's not the knitting store anymore. Come on in. Everybody's really friendly. They want you to knit. They want to get you started. So that's the first reason. The second reason is you're going to find a yarn that you like to knit with and you're going to finish your project. If you go to AC Moore or if you go to Michael's or things like that, you're probably going to wind up with an acrylic. And while acrylic does have a place in this world, it's not necessarily your first knitting project. For your first knitting project, you really want something that's wool, something that feels good in your hands, something you're going to like, something you're going to finish. Because it's going to be hard. So, are you up for the challenge? I am. So the first thing that we're going to do in our knitting school is we're going to get needles. For our knitting school project, we're going to make a hat. You could make a scarf, but you know what? That's miles and miles and miles of stitches. To get you started, I really want you to start you on something you'll finish fairly quickly and will have, and you can show it to all your friends. Look what I made. So, what you need to do is go to your local yarn store, and you're going to want to get a size 7 circular needle that's 16 inches in length. So you go over, and here it is. But wait, you have different choices. There are bamboo, and there are metal. What's the difference? Well, the wood ones, they're smooth, they're going to feel good in your hands, but your stitches are going to kind of get stuck on them. They're going to be slower. The metal ones, now there is your option. Actually, for your first project, get the wooden ones. See these? This is what you should get. But when you're more advanced, Addi Turbos are awesome. Your knitting is going to go smoothly, it's going to go fast, and these are the things that you need to think about when you become a speed demon. But in the meantime, you're probably saying, but I want to go down there. I want to get straight needles. Well, this isn't your mother's yarn store, and this knitting school is not going to be your mother's knitting school either. We're only going to work with circular needles. These needles, just throw them all out. There's no purpose for a straight needle. And that's the last I'm going to say about straight needles. So, when you come to the yarn store and you start your first project, and if you start our first project, again, get a size 7 bamboo needle that's 16 inches long. But if you're starting another project, take into consideration, do I want it to be a metal needle? Do I want it to be bamboo? Do I want my knitting to go a little slower? Do I want my knitting to go a little faster? And in general, pick your yarn first. But since the needles were closer to the yarn, I just decided to do the video here. But the needle goes with the yarn. That's a lesson for another day.
I just spent a lot of time babbling because it was totally ad-libbed. I'm going to ad-lib again and the problem probably won't be solved. But here is really the difference between a bamboo needle and a metal needle, at least when it comes to Addi Turbos versus another product like Clover. The difference is in the join. That is where the tip of the needle is attached to the cable. Here is where your knitting is going to be affected. On the metal needles, the join is very smooth. On the wooden needles, as you can see, there's a little bit of a bump. Does this have a big effect? Not really. It's a matter of personal preference. My preference is the metal needles. It goes faster, the join is smoother, and it's worth the extra money because there is a difference in price. The bamboo needles, at least the Clover, are going to be much cheaper than the Addi Turbos. But, when you really get into it and knitting becomes an investment, you should go for whatever your preference is. Mine, not that I'm trying to influence you, maybe I am, but go with the metal.